In this video, we are going to learn how to use Gauss-Jordan row reduction method to find the inverse of a matrix. Let's say we have matrix A with the elements A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. Now, to find the inverse of this matrix A using Gauss-Jordan row reduction method, we have to augment this matrix A with 3 by 3 identity matrix, which is 1 0 0 0 1 0 and 0 0 1. Now, how do you augment this matrix? We augment it by writing it like this: D, E, F, G, H, and I. Then we draw a straight line. Then put this identity matrix inside it. This is 1 0 0 0 1 0 and 0 0 1. Now let's say that this matrix is on our left hand side, and then this one is our right hand. Now our aim now is to convert this matrix, this one I named left hand, into this right hand. Understand? Once we make D, G, and H equals to 0, and then B, C, and F equals to 0, and then make A, E, and I equals to 1 1 1, then any number that we are left here, the matrix of this right hand side will now be the inverse of our matrix A. You see, once we make all these ones to be, once we make A, E, and I to be 1 1, and D, G, H, B, C, and F zeros, then the matrix that will be left behind in our right hand side will be the inverse of that matrix. Let's say we have matrix A equal to 1 2 1 3 minus 4 minus 2 5 3 and 5. Now let's find the inverse of this matrix A using Gauss-Jordan row reduction method. Remember, the first step is to augment this matrix A with a 3 by 3 identity matrix, which will give us, this is 1 2 1 3 minus 4 minus 2 5 3 and 5, then 1 0 0 0 1 0 and then 0 0 1. There is something I want us to do here. Let's calculate these numbers. Let's add these rows, row 1 up, row 2, and row 3, and write them by the side. Now 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5. Let's write it here, 5. 3 minus 4 is minus 1, minus 1 minus 2 is minus 3, minus 3 plus 1 is minus 2. Then 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 5 is 13, 13 plus 1 is 14. Now our next step is to make this 5 equals to 0. Now how do you make this 5 equals to 0? Remember, we are going to make 3, 3 and 5 equal to 0, and then make 2, 1 and minus 2 equals to 0. Then how do you make this 5 equals to 0? And you find out that if you subtract, let's say row 3, if you subtract 5 times row 1 from row 3, you are going to get this 5 here 0. What do I mean? So 5 minus 5 times 1. Okay, in this case now, our row 1 and our row 2 didn't change, so let me just write it out. 1 2 1 3 minus 4 and minus 2 1 0 0 0 1 0, and then this is 5 minus 2. Yeah, so let me come back here now. 5 minus 5 times 1 will give us 0 here, because 5 minus 5 times 1 will give us 0. Next, 3 minus 5 times 2, and 3 minus 5 times 2 is the same thing as 3 minus 10, which will give us minus 7. Then next is 5 minus 5 times 1. Now 5 minus 5 times 1 is the same thing as 5 minus 5, which will give us 0. Now next is 0 minus 5 times 1, which will give us minus 5. Now 0 minus 5 times 0 will give us 0. 1 minus 5 times 0 will give us 1. Now 14 minus 5 times 5 will give us minus 11. Now how do we know that these operations we performed here in this row 3 are correct? Now let's add up this row 3 and know whether it is equal to minus 11. And we found out that minus 7 plus minus 5 will give us minus 11. So that means that we are correct. Now let's proceed. The next we are going to do now is we are going to make this 3 now equal to 0 by using row 1 again. Let me write. And then which operation will I perform here to make this 3 0? Now we found out that 3 minus 3 times 1 is the same thing as 3 minus 3, which is 0. You understand? So we are now going to do row 2 minus 3 row 1. Now in this case we will make this 3 0. So let's continue. Remember, our row 1 and our row 3 will not change. So let me just write them out. Alright, now 3 minus 3 times 1 is the same as 3 minus 3, which will give us 0. Minus 4 minus 3 times 2 is the same as minus 4 minus 6, which will give us minus 10. Now, the next one is minus 2 minus 3 times 1, which will give us, which is the same as minus 2 minus 3, which will give us minus 5. Now let's do the same thing here. 0 minus 3 times 1 is the same as 0 minus 3, which will give us minus 3 here. Now 1 minus 3 times 0 is the same as 1. And then 0 minus 3 times 0 is the same as 0. Now this is minus 2 minus 3 times 5, which is the same as minus 2 minus 15, which will give us minus 17. Now, if we add this row 2 up and it gave us minus 17, that means that all this calculation we did for this row 2 is correct. Minus 10 minus 5 is minus 15. Minus 15 minus 3 is minus 18. Minus 18 plus 1 is minus 17. Next is to make this 7 equal to 0. But let me ask this question. Remember, while making this row 2 and row 3 equal to 0, we used row 1. Here we say row 3 minus 5 row 1. And then here again we say row 2 minus 3 row 1. Should you now say row 3 minus anything row 1? Should you use row 1 again to make this 7 0? Now, the answer to this is no. Remember, so far I've gotten 0 here and 0 here. We will not like this 0 to change. You understand? If this 0 should change, that means that it will just make our work meaningless. So we'll try as much as possible not to allow these 2 zeros to change. Now, what row operation are we going to perform with this row 1 and 2 for us to get 0 in this place that 7 is? Now, and that row operation is we're going to do 10r3 minus 7r1. This is minus 7. We are going to do 10r3 minus 7r1. Minus 7 because this is 10r3. r3 is minus 7. 10 times minus 7 is minus 70. Then minus 7 times 10, which will give us minus 70 plus 70. Because this minus and minus we turn to plus. Then it will now be minus 70 plus 70, which will give us 0. Now remember, our row 1 and our row 2 remains the same. It didn't change. So let me write them out. Now 10 row 3, this is 10 times 0 minus 7 times 0 will give us this 0 now. Now automatically this one will give us 0. And then 10 times 0 minus 7 times minus 5 is same thing as 0 plus 5 times 7, which is 0 plus 35, which will give us 35. And then let's perform the same operation here. Now 10 times minus 5 minus 7 times minus 3, that one will give us minus 29. And then 10 times 0 minus 7 times 1, which will give us minus 7. And then 10 times 1 minus 7 times 0, which will give us 10. Now let's do the same thing here. This is 10 times minus 11 minus 7 times minus 17, and that will give us 9. Now if you should calculate this thing here now, if you should add 35 minus 29 minus 7 plus 10, you see that it will give us 9. Let's continue. Then we are done with these 3 zeros. Now it remains this, and this. We want to change the 3 of them to 0 in order to get the inverse of our matrix A. Now what's the next thing we are going to do here? We are going to say we want to make this one 0, and then we want to solve it together with this row 3. Remember, now this is, we are going to use 35 row 1 minus row 3. Now why do you say 35 row 1 minus row 3? 35 times 1 will give us 35. Then minus this 35 will be 0. You understand? Now 35 minus 35 is 0. Now we are going to apply it here. Remember, our row 2 and row 3 didn't change, so let me write them out. 0 minus 10 minus 5, 0, 0, and 35. Then minus 3, 1, 0, minus 29, minus 7, and 10. Then this is 9, and then this is 7 minus 17. Okay, 35 R1 minus R3. Now 35 times 1 is what? 35 minus R3, which is 0. 35 minus 0 will still give us 35. Now we come here and write 35. 35 times 2 is 70. 70 minus 0 will give us 70. Next, 35 times 1 is 35. 35 minus 35 will give us 0. Then 35 times 1 is 35. 35 minus 29, that will give us 35 plus 29, will give us 64. Then 35 times 0 is 0. Then 0 minus, this is 0 minus 7, which is equal to 7. Then 35 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 10 to give us minus 10. Now 35 times 5 minus 9 will give us 166. If we add 35 plus 70 plus 64 plus 7 minus 10, we find out that we are going to get 166, which means the calculation we did here is correct. So next we move on to making this minus 5 to be 0. Now how do we do that? We are going to use row 2 and row 3. Now which operation are we going to perform here? We are going to say 7 R2 plus R3. Now 7 R2 means 7 times minus 5, which is minus 35. Then plus R3 means plus 35, which means minus 35 plus 35 will give us 0. Now our row 1 and our row 3 didn't change. Now next, we are going to perform our operations. 7 R2 plus R3. Now 7 times 0 is 0, plus 0 will give us 0 here. 7 times minus 10 is minus 70. Minus 70 plus 0 will give us minus 70. Now 7 times minus 5 is minus 35. Minus 35 plus 35 will give us 0. The next thing, 7 R2 plus R3. 7 times minus 3 is minus 21. Minus 21 plus minus 29 is going to give us minus 50. Now 7 times 1 will give us 7. 7 plus minus 7 will give us 0. Again, 7 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 10 will give us 10. Seven times minus 17 plus 9 is going to give us minus 110, which is minus 110. Now next, we are going to check whether the calculation we did here is correct. Now, minus 70 minus 50 is minus 120. Minus 120 plus 10 gave us minus 110. Then it's correct. So next we change this 70 to 0. Remember, we are now in row 1. Our row 2 and row 3 didn't change. So 35 plus 0 will give us 35. 70 plus minus 70, the same thing as 70 minus 70, which is equal to 0. 0 plus 0 is equals to 0. 64 minus 50 will give us 14. 7 plus 0 is equal to 7. And minus 10 plus 10 is equal to 0. 166 minus 110 gave us 56. Okay, we're now going to divide row 1 with 35, row 2 with minus 70, and row 3 with 35. 35 divided by 35 give us 1, and this will be 0 and 0. This is 0 for this. Minus 70 divided by minus 70 will give us 1, 0, and then 0, 0, 35 divided by 35 will give us 1. Then this one will be 14 over 35. 7 over 35. 0 over 35 is the same thing as 0. And this will be minus 50 over minus 70, which will give us 50 over 70. 0 divided by anything will give us 0. Now 10 divided by minus 70 will give us minus 10 over 70. Now minus 29 we divide by 35, and then minus 7 still divided by 35, and then 10 divided by 35. And now this is the inverse of our matrix. If you like, you change this to its simplest form. Now this is our inverse of a matrix. You can go further and simplify this to its lowest term by doing 14 divided by 35. Okay, let's do it here. Our A inverse is equal to 14 divided by 35. 7 can go with 14 to give us 2. 7 going for 35 will give us 5. Now 7 going for 1, 7 is 1. 7 going for 35 will give us 5 again, and then we're left with 0. Now again, 50 divided by 70 is just 5 over 7. Then this is 0. Minus 10 over 70 is just minus 1 over 7, and then minus 7 and 35. 7 going for minus 7 will give us minus 1. Then 35 divided by 7 will give us 5. And then 10 over 35. 5 going for 10 will give us 2. And then 35 divided by 5 will give us 7. As you can see, this is the inverse of our matrix in this reduced form. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day.